Hi, I'm Jim Cabot. I'm Senior Vice President here at Rasky Baerlein Strategic Communications. We are a public affairs and public relations firm headquartered here in Boston, but with offices in DC as well. I run the energy group, work mostly with a lot of clean energy companies across the board, from wind, solar, biofuels, and batteries, and smart grid, and all the kinds of fascinating companies we're seeing coming to the fore today. And we help our clients in lots of different ways, whether it's state relations, federal relations, or through PR and marketing efforts, helping them grow their companies. So after I got back from the DC fly-in, I began to think about everything I heard and saw down there. And certainly some reasons for pessimism, but also hopefully a few rays of sunshine that we can grab onto. In general, I think we all know that after the failure of comprehensive energy and climate, and then the turnover in the midterms, that the renewable energy industry really needed to do a pivot as far as the way they were positioning themselves and trying to show the legitimacy of the industry. I think we had put a lot of our eggs into the climate basket, and clearly that didn't get through the former Congress, and it is certainly dead on arrival in this current Congress. If you look at some of the general perceptions of the industry, there's a lot of misperceptions that need to be corrected. Even though the numbers generally, if you look at the polling data nationally, clean energy has very strong numbers in support. It doesn't necessarily always break that down when you get into key geographic states and congressional districts. One of the messaging points I think about when it comes to renewables is the concept of taking just a very basic look at the industry and really what we're talking about here. I don't think Americans quite understand how big the energy sector is. That's something we can make clear to them. It really is, when you put it comparable to other sectors, it's very, I think that's a lost fact on people. We need to really emphasize economically how big and how important this is. Item number two, when people say that renewables aren't real and that it's not going to ever really be cost effective, I think there's a very simple concept we need to get people to understand and get their heads around. Fossil-derived sources of energy they have one thing in common. They are all dependent on a commodity that is decreasing in the amount that we have available to us. So the math is pretty simple. It's going to get more expensive. Now granted, there's some opportunity for technology advancements, there's some opportunity to discover new supplies, but the basic math is inescapable. It is going to get more expensive. Renewables, on the other hand, their costs are driven by technology. As we've shown time and time again in this country, we have the ability to drive down costs when technology is a primary factor. Computers are the famous example, chips, etc. The same trends are happening on the renewable side. I think we can boil this concept down into something pretty basic. The old system, based on a finite resource that is getting more expensive, a new system well geared to America's strengths, our science and technology strengths, that will be able to lower the cost in the long run. So the size, geared towards American strengths, the cost going in the right direction, and the notion that there is going to be a winner who's really going to be able to take advantage of that and be the dominant player. Who's going to be the Saudi Arabia of renewable energy? That's the critical question. And I think it can be the United States, but we have to pose that question to our own policy leaders. When you think about media trends, that's the key word. They often are like trends. Something will become hot for a while, and you'll see it'll start to get a lot of coverage. It'll be the thing to cover. I think we saw 3, 4, 5 years ago this trend really ramping up around climate change. If you look at the numbers, the number of articles in newspapers, the number of appearances on nightly news, it really peaked a few years ago. As we go out and try and get reporters to cover these issues, we began to see a trend where they were backing off of it as the market got saturated, and then as pushback happened on climate change, and we ran into some of the headwinds that we saw before, the ClimateGate scandal with the IPCC, etc. So because of a lot of that, you did see the coverage falling off. And I think, again, that comes back to the notion that the renewable energy industry needs to think about repositioning what the value proposition is. when it comes to getting the word out, there's two things you really need to think about. One is, what do you want to say? And that can be done both as an industry through organizations like the Clean Energy Council. It can also be done on an individual basis from companies telling their own story, and even individuals telling their own story. And an effective media campaign involves all of those elements. So it's important as thinking about a company and trying to further your own interest from that perspective. You need to participate in a broader organization like the New England Clean Energy Council that can help you through the power of numbers get that word out and tell it from an industry-wide perspective. But the personal story is very important as well. You are located in a congressional district, and that is a very powerful tool to be able to use. So it's important for companies to be able to recognize that. You can develop your own relationships with members of Congress. You can develop your own relationships with the local media based on where you do your work. And in doing that, if you just put a little bit of effort every day into thinking about those opportunities, whether it might be writing a letter to the editor, it might be let's issue a press release about a new hire, those very basic things, that's what adds to the momentum of the story and making it real. Messaging is important. Clearly, the industry needs to pivot away from where the points of emphasis we have been using before. But that's by no means the end of the game. Clearly what's important is getting boots on the ground, getting the story out there. It means taking the time to go down to DC, participating in the CEO fly-ins, going down on your own, going to a district office and introducing yourself, reaching out to the local newspaper. It's that level of effort, that consistency, coming from a lot of different places. That's what changes the dialogue, changes the tide and the shift and the momentum that you need to see to create that kind of frothiness in the media and in the political circles that are going to drive action. And again, it doesn't stop at messaging. You have to come back to the implementation and getting it done.